Hey there, Juan Morales here, and in today's episode we're going to go to a key distinction that really helps a lot of entrepreneurs, especially online entrepreneurs, and especially online entrepreneurs that want to go into a market to sell information or some sort of product or some sort of service. Now, the key distinction here is to understand that there's really three types of markets. Okay? You're going to have the solution market, you're going to have the enthusiast market, and then you're going to have the solution and enthusiast market, which is the mix of the two previous ones. Now, why is this important? Because if you go into an enthusiast market with the frame of mind of a solution market, it's never going to work. And let me give you an example. An enthusiast market is a market that's constantly feeding itself on something, right? These are the passion markets. This is the stuff where people love the action of it and they just love doing it. And if you look at a market, let's say the handcrafting market, I had a client once that opened up an offer to the handcrafter market. Now what they did was that instead of understanding that this is an enthusiast market, they started looking for it as though there's a problem in there and what's the solution for it. And what happened was that they were helping people scale their business and taking their business out of Etsy and putting it into Shopify and growing it that way. And while the idea sounded great on paper and I could totally see the validity of it, turns out that most people that are in that market don't really have that problem. They're just enthusiasts of the marketplace. That's why you see certain places where people go and they get the materials to build all these crafts, places like Michael's, etc., where people can go in and they just buy whatever they need and then they build stuff with it, and usually they don't turn it into a business, not necessarily, and they may call it a business, but it's not really a business. Most people that go into this, they just start doing little promotions and little things to sell the stuff they created, but they don't treat it like a business. And that's because it's an enthusiast market. Now, my client learned the hard way after spending thousands of dollars on advertising spend and all that people were not interested in a solution to a problem. They were just enthusiasts of the market, right? That's very interesting to know, because when you're thinking of whatever market you're going into, you have to come at it with the right frame of mind. And you have to attack the problem or attack the market or really bring your solution to the market based on these things. And to know these things makes all the difference. Okay? So let's say, for example, you are looking for a solution market, which is a market that's looking for a solution to a problem, a specific problem that they have. Many people, when they look for these problems, you can find them out there because these are the things that you're going to see. These are the questions that you see in Quora. These are the issues that people are having. And this is a great way to find good things that you can sell to people, because obviously you'll be solving a problem that they're currently experiencing. But it's important to know that when it's a solution-driven market, the key there is your solution a one-shot deal, or is your solution a piece of a larger solution? Many people, when they jump into a marketplace, I had a client that had this solution that was something that was for the skincare market, that basically the solution, on the second time you put it on, it would fix the problem. And then you didn't need to use it anymore. So the problem that he was having was that he was solving the problem, but then there was no next problem. Right? Because if you solve the problem right away, unless your business is built on a series of problems where it's like, okay, now you solved that problem, here's another one that you need to solve, you're only going to have a promotion. You're only going to have the one product that you're selling or the one service that you offer. Instead, when you're looking for a market, you want to look for something where there's a lot of ways and a lot of solutions that market is looking for. Think of it in terms of the online space. In terms of the online space, there's the big three kind of broad markets that are health, wealth, and relationships. But you can see how you get into any of those things, there's 1,000+ different problems and situations that are inside of there. Right? Because let's say that you start with building the business and you're getting the word out, and then you need to be closing sales. And then now you're closing sales, now you need to staff up. And now you're staffing up, well, that means that your profits are going away, so now you need to figure out a way to streamline profits. you also need a way to figure out the back end, right? Like it just keeps building on. Once you fix one problem, all it did was move the constraint to the next one that you hadn't seen yet. That's really what you're looking for. A market that is solution driven, but driven in that sense. Like one problem, once you solve one problem, it just opens up another one. Right? When you find those markets, that's where you can go in because you have an endless amount of things that you can just promote to your audience. And that will be valuable to them because guess what? Those are the problems that these people are going through all the time. Right? So, recapping, the first one was enthusiast markets, right? Those are driven by their passion. There's not a problem really in there. There's a sense of value that they get from participating in the market, and that's the enthusiastic part of it. On the other side, you have the solution-driven markets that are all the markets where there's a problem and what you need to do is bring a solution to it. And people are looking for solutions for those problems. And then we land on the third one, and this is obviously the most valuable one. This is the most powerful one, and it's the one that ties in both of these components. Right? It has the enthusiast nature built in because these are people that love to talk about their stuff. They love to consume things when it comes to this. They're very public and open about certain things. I have a client that got into a market that was a solution-driven market, but then none of his clients would refer anybody or would talk to anybody else. Because imagine that the problem that you have is something that's very, very private and it's something that you don't want to tell anybody else about. Well, I mean, even though that may be a lucrative market and something worthwhile to explore, you're definitely not going to get the additional sales that come from referrals, from people just telling someone else to do it. Especially if what the market is associated with is something shameful or something that's not seen as a status upgrade, but rather a status downgrade if you talk about it. Right? So usually that can happen on some solution markets, but when you don't have that, which means that people do like to talk about it, they tell friends about it, they can't shut up about it, right? Now you have an enthusiast market, which is the best thing to have because once you have an enthusiast market, that means that you have a very, very vocal person that's talking about the market and they're all hyped up about it. They want to talk about this topic forever, right? These are the people in the, let's call it in the internet game, if you see the internet marketing space, right, these are the people that will go to YouTube and just keep watching videos about different things with internet marketing. And it's, and I've been in that market for the longest time. And I'll learn different things because there's always things to learn, but I like it. So it's the mix of those two things, enthusiast and solution driven. And look at it, right? In the internet marketing space, you have the enthusiastic part, which is everybody's telling everybody else to get a funnel or do whatever, right? Because it's a very positive thing and it's something that we want to tell other people about. And conversely, you have a solution-driven market, which is the idea of, hey, there's all kinds of problems, right? Whether it's Facebook changing certain things, whether it's that you need to track certain links or certain clicks or certain things. You want to test stuff on your page, right? You want to try different copywriting frameworks. There's all kinds of things when you get into it, but what you're looking for is that super mix, enthusiastic and solution-driven. Because if they're enthusiastic about it, that means that they're talking about that all the time, they're thinking about that all the time, and they're buying stuff in that market all the time. And when you connect that with the idea of it being a solution-driven market, that means that any client that you get in that space, you're going to have a whole bunch of times that you can promote stuff to them, whether it's yours or someone else's. That's the beauty of it. But these are the components that are usually missing from other markets that we don't think about. So we're evaluating different markets to figure out which one we want to get into. And what we end up doing is we go into something just because we got a couple of signals that it works. But one thing I've found is that the ultimate combination, what I'm really looking for is something that is enthusiastic and solution-driven. Once you have that, you have all the makings of a winning market. And a winning market is one of the most important things to have a winning offer, which means you'll have a winning business. Till next time, this is Juan Morales signing out. I'll see you on the next one.